Okay, so this week I did the GUI assignment, and in here I've got some helper code getting everything started. I'm using the Earth orb that I used last time. The menu, I'm pushing it directly back to world list, and I'm creating it. This is just like, I'm just calling it main menu. It could be called whatever, I suppose. Um, so that's there, and then I have a world space string that I'm using for something kind of cool. So in the class that I built, I have all the stuff we needed to overload, and then I have a couple helper functions um, that I'm using to make the drawing of the menu a little easier and less cluttered. And then I've got the I'm not even using that, so I don't need it. The position, the global rotation, and the this is the local rotation. I'm not. I'm not. I'm setting it to a fixed. Like if you set 60 degrees in the text, in not in the text box, but in the on the slider, it sets that rotation to 60 degrees from identity of whatever, or like negative, or it rotates it that much from wherever it would be by default, like the identity. So you're not like stepping 60. If you set the slider to 60, you're not stepping 60 each time. You're just setting it to 60. So, and that required me to do some math. It required math. So let's just go. Let's find. These are not interesting. The same thing we do every time for those. Um, so we are beginning, and then I have a little text box, and then a new line, and then another text box, and then here we are. This is a function that does the picking of the world object that you want to manipulate, and then the rotation menu does all of the rotation stuff. Actually, it also does position, but that's not called that right now. I could easily change that, and then it's done. So I guess this should just be pose menu, but it's fine for now. Since it's the next one, we'll just do this next. The picking the world object just gets the world list from the GLV class, and then we iterate through it. And I'm doing some like if we want there to be 3 on one line. So if it's a multiple of I don't know. I think I might have done this wrong. I think the first one's going to be 3, and then all the other ones will be 2. It's not a huge deal. It's not super aesthetic, but and then here we are doing. We're setting the position. This is important for later, so that because the position of the world object only updates when we update the slider. If we don't do this, the sliders will be wrong for the world object that's currently selected, and then they'll like jump to the correct positions. And I didn't want that, so I wanted it to, as soon as we select the new world object, the sliders change to what they should be. And then this is something I'll talk about in a minute. The set rotation function is that math stuff that I was talking about, setting all of the appropriate elements of the the direction cosine matrix, the pose, or I think that's what, it's the pose, to what they should be according to the Euler angles that we got in from the GUI. So that is basically pulled directly from the the slides. And this is just to make it simpler. The rotation menu, I did this. I probably didn't need to do this because it's unlikely that both two sliders would be manipulated in the same frame, but I wanted it so that if there were two sliders manipulated in the same frame of like rendering, that it would only set the rotation once. That way we're not getting into like order of rotation. I didn't want to have to think about that. So I just wanted to have all of the angles done when we called the set rotation function. I wanted to make sure they were all done being set before I called it, so I just did it as an OR. But for the global space rotations, I'm not really happy with how I did not really particularly like this. I would have loved to have done something similar with global rotation as I did with local rotation, where I'm like manually setting it, so it's like I'm not setting. I don't want the slider to step. I want the slider to set. Like if the slider is set to 20, that's where it should be pointing. I suppose if I had something like enter a rotation and then it'll rotate that much, that would be fine. But that's not what I'm doing. So, and then the positions also. This is very straightforward. And since I don't think there's any sort of ordering issues, like it doesn't matter how you add up the position vectors, they all end up in the same place always. So yeah, that's good. And then this is what I was talking about earlier, where I have a world space label that follows the selected world object and gives some information on it. And right now I'm just using it for the label, like it just displays the label and the position. But if I was to continue doing this, I would probably like to have some more like diegetic, like in-world UI stuff attached to, either the character or whatever. I just love in games when it's like everything's world space and nothing is screen space. Just it feels so much better, at least in my opinion. So let me. Did I add anything else? Nope. So let me show you what I've got going on here. So this is this, and then I'll come over here so you can. I'm not doing any like rotation of the world space string right now, because I didn't want to think about like how to make it always face the camera. I know there's a way to do it, and I'm sure it's fairly straightforward. You could do it with like the. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I'm on a time crunch now, so I don't want to waste your time. Okay, so select the world object, and then drop down for world object. And because light is always assigned first, it goes way up here, because that's where it's at. So let's select Earth. So Earth located at 0, 0, 0. Okay, so we can move it, and it updates the string as well. And I have it set a little bit too close to the Earth right now, so I have to move so you can still see it. But yeah, so it keeps things. It keeps updating it. See, it's the same numbers. And then if I rotate, there we go, rotation does all the special rotation things you would expect. So I don't like, it's kind of hard to just reset to 0. I think it wants it in, I think there's a way you can change it so that it has like a finer resolution of steps. But as of right now, it's got, I think, a 2-step resolution. So, well, maybe not. I don't know. Because it steps to 2 there. Either way, it doesn't like 0. So, it's -1 degrees or 1 degrees, and there's nothing I can do about that currently. And then here I am doing, oh, you know what? I did do a text box rotate. Scratch what I said earlier. I did do it right the way I wanted to. So this is in this one was automatically in degrees. I actually had it in radians originally, but the I am GUI slider for degrees actually converts it for you, which I thought was pretty cool. So I left it that way. I left it as degrees, but I did this as radians because I didn't want to mess around with converting. So like 0.1125. And then every time you add a decimal, it rotates it again because it's updating, which is not great. But and then once you've done that, it's hard to get it back to what it should be from there. So you can just do that and it resets it. Yeah. So not a huge fan of the global rotation implementation currently. But you can do this on anything. So now it's on the grass. And you can rotate the grass, and it's which is nice. And yeah, there you go. And then let's see I did make it so that you can't, because this label is in the world objects list. So if it had like tried to set its position relative to itself, it would like go up. I think I didn't try it. It just doesn't do anything if you select the selected world object label. So, but then you can see that is also selectable. Yeah, and then if you do the skybox, you can obviously changing the position doesn't do anything, but you can change its orientation, which makes me very nauseous. Okay. So that is skybox located at all that. Yep, so that's it for today, I think.